All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I know a few people may log on, but I wanted to start with introductions, just so everybody knows who everybody is, because this is meant to be a conversation, even though we have some information we want to share with you guys. And so I think everybody knows me. I'm Tammy McEwen. I am currently the Dean of the Faculty at Southwestern. And before that, as most of you know, I was biology professor and chair of the Natural Sciences Division. And so I'm just going to go around my screen and have everybody introduce themselves. And for you, those of you that are PAs or in PA school, just tell us if you're a PA, how long you've been practicing, and in PA school, how much longer you have to go. Okay. And your names, please. Jared, I'll start with you.
Okay, thanks, Tammy. So, yeah, I'm Dr. Jared Pennington. I'm the program director for the DMSc program. I came on board about a year ago in May of last year to kind of spearhead this program and also help. If you know, we have a PA program that's starting up, which will kick off in January. So Chandra Lynch is directing that. So I've been assisting her through the accreditation process and also building the DMSc program. I've been a PA for 22 years. I'm remote. I live in Northeast Ohio. And I've been out to Winfield once last year for our Higher Learning Commission visit. But I've been a PA in multiple areas: emergency medicine, transplant, primary care, some psychiatry, some orthopedics. Currently continue to practice at Akron Children's Hospital in our inpatient neuroscience unit, which I've been there for about 11 years. I graduated from Drexel University in Philadelphia way back when, and my PhD is in public health and health policy and management. So we can talk more later if you have any questions, but yeah, we'll keep moving on. Nice to meet everyone.
Thanks, Jared. Joe, we'll go to you.
Yeah, so hey everyone. So Joe Weber. I'm located in South Carolina. So my background is I've been a PA since 2009, and my background is in emergency medicine and psychiatric medicine. I actually met Dr. Pennington working together in an emergency room at University Hospital's Case Medical Center, inner city Cleveland. So we've known each other for a long time. I've started 2 PA programs, one in Ohio, Lake Erie College, and then one here in South Carolina at Presbyterian College. I also am on the adjunct faculty as well as here. I'm on the adjunct faculty, but I'm on the adjunct faculty for the ATSU program, and that started in 2019. So that's a little bit about my background. I enjoyed emergency medicine and psych med. I don't practice anymore. I'm just mostly teaching. I still teach at Franklin Pierce as an adjunct as well. And then I'm also a fitness instructor for the YMCA Livestrong program. I work with cancer survivors in a 12-week kind of step back and get healthy program. That's probably the huge blessing. And I'm a college chaplain. Weird stuff, but that's what I do. That's me.
Stephanie.
Hi, it's good to see some familiar faces. I'm Stephanie DeLong, Vice President for Enrollment Management, and I've been working with Tammy and Jared as we've been putting this program together. So,
all right, Haley, we'll go to you.
Okay, I'm Haley Sewell. I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I graduated from Southwestern in 2014 and the OU Tulsa PA program in 2016. So I'm in my 10th year as a PA. I've worked in urgent care, orthopedic trauma, and currently in physical medicine and rehabilitation.
Awesome. Great.
Wow. Daisy.
Hi, I'm Daisy Stover. I'm a first year technically at WSU, but we have 2 more months of first year, and then I'll start rotations in August, and then a full year second year, and then I'll be a PA hopefully.
Keep drinking from the fire hose. No.
Exactly.
Yeah. Morgan.
Hi, I'm Morgan Mitchell. I went to PA school at IU in Indianapolis. I graduated in August and passed my boards in August. And I have been practicing in primary care in Whiteland, Indiana for about 6 months now.
Very good. All right. And Avery.
Hi, I'm Avery Norman. I am a PA student at Harding University in Searcy, Arkansas. It's near the Little Rock area. Sounds like I'm kind of on the same timeline as Daisy. I finished up didactic year at the end of July, and then I'll start clinicals, and then I'm set to graduate December of 2027.
All right. Great. Well, thank you all for joining us. Just a little bit of background of what we're doing, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jared to tell you about the program. But as you all know, in 2022, SC welcomed our 20th president, and it was President Liz, and the college was struggling a bit. She came into a struggling college. And the first thing she did was decided we needed to add some programs and that healthcare fields were the best place to do that. So we restarted nursing and we matriculated our first class in the fall. So nursing is back at SC. And then almost immediately after we started working on that, we started working on starting a PA program, and we are scheduled to open that in January of 27. We are right now going through the provisional accreditation pathway with ARC PA, and that is so much fun. You just have no idea. And then associated with that, because of the way many other allied medical fields have gone, PT, OT, going from, really with physical therapy, a bachelor's and then a master's to a doctorate. And the same with occupational therapy. It looks like PA could very well and most likely is headed, or not PA, yes, PA, excuse me, is headed that way. And so we decided that it might be to our benefit to start a doctorate in medical science program, specifically catering to PAs that want to go ahead and get their doctorate degree. And I'm not going to spoil the surprise with Jared's presentation with that, but that's the whole point of this. So we wanted to talk to some of our alums that are PAs and make you aware of it, in the hopes that, yes, maybe you'll join us, but also that you'll help us spread the word about it, and that you know what your alma mater's doing in terms of healthcare. So I think that's really my little spiel, and I'm going to turn it over to Jared, and probably Joe may pipe in. Jared has a PowerPoint to really talk about the program and what that is. And then Stephanie will share a little bit, and at the end, we'll kind of have a question answer session. So Jared, it's yours.
Can you all see this? I'm sharing, but I can't see that it's up. Okay.
Yes, it's up.
You can see it. Okay, great. Okay, so great. Thanks, Tammy. Yeah, so this is a new program. We're excited that you all are, potentially interested, whether you're in PA school or you're out practicing. And I think, for you, Haley, being out 10 years, I think this is the time where we see that PAs are thinking about, maybe doing an advanced degree of some sort. I was probably 7 years out when I was trying to think about doing a PhD or something of that sort. I think when you're coming out of PA school, my daughter's a fairly new PA in the last 4 years, and the last thing she wanted to do was go to school again, coming out of PA school. But it is important because the profession is sort of moving in this direction. Probably wouldn't affect me, probably wouldn't affect Dr. Weber, but for you all who are just getting out into practice, or for, only been practicing for a couple of years, you're probably going to see this be the terminal degree for PAs. And it may be the degree that you just get when you come out of PA school. It may take a while for us to see that. We saw that with the master's degree transition. PA school used to be an associate degree. Then it turned into a bachelor's degree. Then it turned into a master's degree. And we have Cuyahoga County Community College in our neighborhood here. It was one of the first programs. And when people graduated from there, they couldn't even practice. No hospital system knew how to use them. So they made actually a couple of people, they made them go back and become a nurse so they could give them some sort of privileges at the hospital. It was really, really weird. So the profession has been around since 1967, and, we've just been pushing forward. So this probably will be the terminal degree for PAs in the future. A lot of people want to do it for different reasons. whether that maybe that's the reason, like I'm going to have to get this anyway, or they really want to dive into a certain area of expertise to enhance their career. And we have 2 tracks that we'll talk to you about that we think can accomplish those goals. There are a lot of other programs out there. There's close to 50 now in the country, and they're mostly all asynchronous and online. But we're trying to show how our program is going to be a little bit different and offer a little bit of a competitive edge for at least from the educational side. So let's move forward here. And Dr. Weber can, he can chime in too. And, like he said, we've been working together for a long time. I didn't mention that for 12 years of my career, I was a PA faculty member near Cleveland. I started a program, very familiar with ARC-PA standards. These programs are trying to be accredited. ARC is trying to accredit these programs as well. So we're no stranger to that process. So we kind of understand where people are in PA school and kind of their mindset as they start to graduate and come out into practice. So our program is designed over 12 months. Okay, it's a 36 credit hour program. We have 2 tracks. We have a clinical leadership transformation track, and we have a clinical educator track. Now, some people, Haley's out 10 years, maybe she thinks, hey, maybe I want to become a PA faculty member, transition down my practice at some point. Well, clinical educator track is maybe, something that you want to look at. If you're a PA that thinks like, well, maybe I want to move into hospital administration, maybe I want to move into some adjacent career, like there's PAs are moving into jobs in pharmaceutical companies as medical science liaisons and all these other sort of healthcare entities that are starting up that are out of the traditional realm of nonprofit, digital health, things like that. So, PAs are very well utilized in these settings, and I think underutilized. So I think these types of degrees are going to sort of help put PAs on the forefront to compete against other healthcare professions. So we're looking at taking your clinical care, your clinical experience, whether you're a new grad or experienced grad, and kind of building on that into, something that where you want to head, right? So we want to kind of tailor the experience to what your career goals are. And I think between both tracks, we can probably do that. We also wanted to create a program that was sort of substantial in the amount of material that you're learning, and not just, you take another 6 months course and you're out with a doctoral degree just to have the credential. We wanted you to really learn something while you're in the program. So we base the program on a couple of things. We have, evidence-based leadership. We're, during both of the tracks, and Dr. Weber can talk a little bit about the educator track in a minute. But we want to focus on real life issues, issues that students bring to the table, what they really want to focus on. I know when you're in PA school, you're like, I just want to learn medicine and get out of here and start practicing. But eventually you will think you will have experience in whatever setting you're working, and you will see the issues that we have in our healthcare system, and you're going to want to try to fix those. And you're thinking, how can I expand my education, my credibility, my experience to be able to go in and fix these problems, or at least help to fix these problems, because you're in the trenches. I mean, you're the one seeing patients, and only people with that experience are going to know what that feels like and what the patients are dealing with. So we really want it to be evidence-based. We want it to have a systems integration where we think across all domains in healthcare, servant leadership across the curriculum, as far as like I'm sure you heard about servant leadership in PA school. We as PAs as a profession really are born into servant leadership. We're not in a high powered role where we dictate orders to everybody, but we're not also taking a lot of orders from everybody. We're kind of in the middle. So we have to, play nice with physicians, play nice with nursing, play nice with, the allied health staff. So we're kind of in that area where we understand what it means to lead, and also how to help our followers to become leaders. So that's sort of, how we were building the program. And I came on board, and I brought Dr. Weber on board because we've worked together a lot in the past, and we both have similar ways of thinking about this. So getting to the program itself, like I said, it's a 12-month program. I think definitely can be doable while you're working. It's basically one 6-week course at a time. Okay, so it marches on, with the normal week breaks here and there, but it pretty much marches on for 12 months in 6-week course increments. Okay, so you can choose to do it 12 months and march on in those 6-week increments, or you can choose to do it in 24 months, or potentially something longer than that. I think we're going to give like a 4-year window where you have to complete the degree. But if you took a 24-month option, it looks like maybe the first year is more substantive courses in your track, and the second year would largely be working on your research. So there's really 3 components to the program. Well, there's really 2 that you will choose, right? You'll choose a track, so the leadership transformation track or the educator track, but then there's research infused. And the research is not a dissertation, not something that we expect, a 5-year PhD student to finish, but something that's going to help you in your career. Something that you're putting the time in enough to learn about it and being mentored by us and others along the way, but something that you can take with you when you leave. So if you need 24 months to accomplish that, that's fine. Like I said, there are programs that say you can come in here and get done in 8 months. Or 10 months or whatever it is. And that's okay. But those programs don't have the capacity they can't give you that opportunity to develop that expertise in an area that you want to really dive deep on. Okay. So it's not going to allow you that if that's what you're looking for. If you're just looking for a credential, sure, there are a lot of programs out there, but for our program, it's more about really giving you time to dive into an issue that you're passionate about, whether it's on the clinical side, or maybe you're already a PA faculty member and you want more experience being a PA faculty member, which is a lot different than being, say, like a history faculty member, or as in biology even. I mean, there's a lot of accreditation standards, there's a lot of things that PA faculty members deal with that maybe professors in other areas don't necessarily need to dive into, the university accreditation all the time and all those things. So it's 36 credit hours. It's largely asynchronous. We did build in for each course like a 1 day a week where we would meet. We understand that people may not want that because they're busy, but we were going to, have some guidelines around how many of those sessions we want you to attend. We want FaceTime with the students. We just don't want to present a curriculum. You just see my talking head in a lecture, and then I give you some work to do and I grade your assignment. We want some interaction with you, whether that's within the course or whether that's mentoring you on your research. I mean, anytime outside of the course anyway, when we're mentoring you on research, we're going to have FaceTime. I mean, that's inevitable. But, we wanted that sort of built into the curriculum. The cost is there. This is probably middle of the road cost for our program. Whether it's the 12 or the 24 months, you're taking the same credit hours. And then our goal is to enroll, initially a 25 student cohort. We have an August start right now, but we might start incorporating different start times once we get students who are, interested, but maybe they prefer a different start time. Or for our PA students that will graduate from Southwestern, they will graduate in December of 29. So maybe their best start date is not January, maybe it's a May start, once they pass boards, get a job, and then kind of think about doing it. So we can kind of tailor that as we go forward. And feel free to raise your hand or chime in if you have questions. So again, the specialization are the clinical leadership transformation, which is 6 courses. There's 2 core courses. So the foundation courses, which is basically an introduction to research course and clinical inquiry. And then there's a healthcare policy and law course, which we think that all students should have a kind of an cursory overview of those areas. And then you dive into the specialization courses. Okay. Each Each track comes with a 4-part research course. So you take the core research course, and then you have a 4-part research course, which is basically individually mentoring with your faculty member on your research project throughout the 12 months or 24. Even if you choose to do 24 months, we can probably tailor it where you can still do some research the first year if you wanted to push some of the coursework. We're just getting started. So, students will come with suggestions, and we'll try to accommodate that. But again, 2 core courses and 6 specialization courses along with the research. So the leadership transformation track. So again, this is tailored towards somebody who maybe wants to go into hospital administration. So we're looking at team building, we're looking at healthcare risk assessment, regulation and compliance, organizational finance. Maybe we're not going to dive as deep into finance as an MBA program, but if you want to go into healthcare administration, as PAs, we're not taught that in PA school, right? We're taught medicine. So we will teach you some of that, accounting principles, healthcare quality and safety, and then just kind of being a leader in the area. In your PA programs, you probably had some cursory coursework in this area. I know in our program, I taught a healthcare leadership course. I taught a public health course. They weren't the most favorite courses, right? The students want to learn clinical medicine. But after they're out, alumni come to me, and I work with plenty of alumni, and they say, oh yeah, I've been out a couple years, and now I'm really thinking about my project that I did, and really thinking about some research things and trying to think back to what you taught us. So it's like, but now that you have time to not be learning clinical medicine and taking 5 exams in a week, as a PA student, then you have time to kind of dive deeper into this. So that's the track that will give you the more kind of the tools you need to kind of potentially move into that space. And this track is also a lot of DMSc programs have a similar track like this, and it's usually maybe their core track or their kind of main curriculum that they give, and then they have a couple of tracks off of that or whatever, specializations or concentrations. But we're really trying to make this so it's tailored towards the student and what they want to be learning. All right, now I'll have Dr. Weber kind of talk on this part.
Sure. Yeah. So this area in clinical education is exploding. I just looked about 5 minutes before we got on the call. There's 95 open positions as PA faculty right now. So there are just a ton of positions open. If you're interested in PA education, either full-time or part-time, this is a place to really get focused. And frankly, salaries are going up. Also, there's many advantages of working at universities, some of which are primarily flexibility, which is nice for those of you really interested in that. Also, for many universities, colleges that you work for, your kids can get free tuition, which was a benefit for me. I know that helped Dr. Pennington as well. My daughter went through her baccalaureate degree for free, so there's a lot of things. So there's people that want to move into clinical education. However, seeing that, just because you've taken classes doesn't mean you're a good teacher. And just because you're good at what you do as a PA doesn't mean you're a good teacher. So what Dr. Pennington and I did is designed a kind of a curriculum that gets you prepared for that. Not only does it get you prepared for the current master's degree level, but we're preparing students for the eventual need to teach in doctoral programs. And of course, to teach in a doctoral program, DMSc, you're going to need to have a doctorate degree. So with that said, here's where kind of walk through this quickly, fundamentals of pedagogy. And that really means adult learning theory. How do adults learn? And it's very different than K through 12. So adults learn in the different stages they learn. So we will take a deep dive into the fundamentals of how people learn. I'll give you an example. There's somebody here, I'm not too far from Clemson, and I actually had a Clemson educator come in and teach my PA faculty on how to use humor in teaching technical healthcare topics. And it was phenomenal. It was almost like a TED Talk. And so he gave us insight in how to do that. Those are some of the things that we would bring in, I will bring into the curriculum. The next one is program development. The ARC standards, as stated, they're just insane. So they're really complex. However, you can navigate them. Dr. Pennington and I have been around for 15 years or so in the whole ARCPA space. We're very familiar with it. So our goal is to train you as PA educators how to, walk through the minefield of that. The next piece is program operations and finance. It's really, if you're going to be a program director, a clinical director, academic director, et cetera, you need to understand how to efficiently and effectively run a PA program. It's not just teaching. There's so much more, including finances, grant opportunities, working with foundation boards, community health organizations, et cetera. We'll go into that. Another element is assessment and evaluation. And what that is that ARC and other organizations, Higher Learning Commission, et cetera, SAC-COC, are very interested in not only how do you assess students, but how do you assess your program overall? And then finally, online course design, which is going to be the future. Not only are you seeing it here, and some of you in PA school right now, and pretty much all of us have gone on site to be in PA school. However, I'm on the adjunct faculty for Franklin Pierce University in Austin, Texas, and the whole program is remote. The whole PA program is remote, and that's probably going to go on. There's going to be more of that for a lot of reasons. So that's kind of the basics of clinical educator. The last thing on this piece is that Dr. Pennington and I, this isn't just theory. When you're taking the class like on program development, I will walk you standard by standard, and you will actually build out, either if you're in a program or you want to be in a program, you'll build out all the architecture. When you walk out, it won't be just you wrote papers that are meaningless. You're going to actually have templates that you could carry into your first PA job, PA education job. Dr. Pennington?
No, great. Yeah, I think it's so important because, I think because of how many PA faculty member positions there are, and it doesn't, you don't need to be a faculty member in order to jump on board to be hired as a faculty member. Now, to be the program director, you have to have been teaching for at least 3 years to move into a program director role, which I think is still pretty minimal. But, like Haley, you could come out, or, I'm probably, not Morgan being out only, 6 months or 8 months, but, usually it's required, like you're at least a PA for like 3 to 5 years. But even being a PA for 3 to 5 years, you don't, like he said, you might not have any experience teaching, you may always thought about it, but really this type of program will give you the skills to, kind of be seen as above and beyond other applicants that, because, and those people might have a DMSc, but they may not have a clinical educator track DMSc. It may just be sort of a generic curriculum. So this will really help. And just like Dr. Weber said, not giving you just papers to write and hand in, it's like actual assignments related to the standards that really people have to learn over years when they become a faculty member. And I've worked with people for years who, still, because a lot of it gets put on the program director. You want the program director to do everything. Faculty members are busy teaching, but they really do need to know what the standards are and how their coursework fits into the standards and how they're meeting those benchmarks within their courses. So like I said, it's a lot more integrative when you look at a graduate program that's accredited by an outside accreditor, as opposed to, the Higher Learning Commission, which accredits the entire college or university, and your program is just, a piece of that. It's a little bit different.
If I could camp on that, something you said a little bit earlier, Dr. Pennington, is that, there's a lot of doctoral programs out there, 50 something right now, but just be cognizant, whatever program you pick, of course, do the best thing for you, but just some of the programs, much to my chagrin, and I've been around since program number 3 was started. I helped start that one. Much to my chagrin and many others, it's the mantra is fast and cheap. And so that's what you'll get. And you don't want the doctorate degree, your terminal degree sticks with you for your life. I know of people that did the fast and cheap I'll put doctorate in quotes because I don't respect them and many other people don't. So what they've done, now they're doing a second doctorate degree because they decided to do fast and cheap. So I'll just say that straight away. And, Dr. Pennington, you and I have
Sure.
talked about that.
Yeah, I've seen that actually. I mean, there's plenty of people that wanted a deeper dive, into, and then they end up doing a PhD or something after, which, is good. But, you could have kind of looked at, and maybe when they did their DMSc, there might not have been a lot of options at the time, where now there are more options. And I hope that people are going to see more programs like ours that are, you're really going to get a lot out of it. And maybe it's going to take a little bit longer. Maybe it's going to cost a little bit more. But like Dr. Weber said, you're going to take that information with you without a need to go on for further education in the future. So that is a big point. Okay, so the project. So this isn't meant to scare anybody. Like I said, it's not a dissertation. It is a longer manuscript, because we really want you to take a deep dive into your area that you want to focus on. That, reading about your topic and understanding is the only way that's going to make you an expert in your topic. And I know when I was doing my now granted, I did a full dissertation in a PhD program, but the same thing applies. And they told me, when you're defending it, don't be anxious, because you should be the expert in the room on this topic. People are going to talk to you and ask questions about it, but you've been studying this for, I probably took me 2.5 years to write a dissertation. And so it's going to be the same thing. Like you're presenting a manuscript. We're getting you to that point where you're an expert in that one little niche area that's maybe filling a gap in the clinical practice area that you recognize, a gap in the research in other areas, or whatever you want to accomplish. Even on the education side, there's a lot of research to be done in PA education. That you will hone in on one area that you're an expert on, and then you can take that with you and build on that as you move into your career. And you will have the tools to then know what these research terms are. What is, this, more than a cursory level statistics maybe, and kind of, when you're in meetings and you're talking to people about research projects and you have to submit an IRB application and all these things, you understand what that is. In PA school, depending on where you went, they may have touched on those things. You may have been able to do something with your capstone, but probably not something that was fully able to be implemented, and something that you may or may not continue to care about when you graduate because you weren't able to spend enough time on it. You were just trying to graduate. So this is a little bit different. It gives you that time to be able to do that. So it basically just progresses on from the first part to the second, third, fourth, and each level, each area, this will kind of be a fluid process, because it'll largely be a student interacting with the faculty mentor, and then probably an outside mentor. So somebody in your health system, or somebody who has similar expertise in the area that you're looking at, or a PA faculty member if you're on that side. That this will kind of be a fluid kind of process. So there's, just because, we want you to get this done in part one, well, you might not get that done until, the next 6 weeks or whatever it is. So it's just, they're there as guidelines and, to kind of keep you on track. But we understand that your work ebbs and flows, how busy you are, how much research you can get done, things like that. So this is going to be a very probably sort of flexible part of the program. And just the academic support. Now, this is a fully, asynchronous, well, not, I guess with some, hour long, maybe meetings during the week, but largely an asynchronous program. You don't need to be on campus. You don't need to live in Kansas. You interact like we're interacting right now. But the college does have resources, right? The college has resources in Dietz library to search for journals and things like that. And as we move, and we're a new program, and the PA program is new also. So as we move on and we realize what resources students need for the PA program, for a doctoral program. Now, we are fortunate to have a doctorate in education already in operation at Southwestern. So the college is used to doctoral students. but we have library resources that we potentially could expand upon depending on people's expertise. So, you'll have all the support, the support through the learning management system, which we use Blackboard, the library support, faculty, Dr. Weber and I, we'll have a whole host of adjunct faculty that we select who are either going to be teaching courses or mentoring some research, which will kind of round out your education. So you shouldn't necessarily have an issue with trying to get the resources that you need. And quite frankly, if you're at a health system, like a larger health system or a larger practice, you might have more different resources than the college has to search databases and things like that. So, that would also be helpful, in addition to what we have. So what we're also going to be doing is incorporating, we have to incorporate some form of AI into the program, right? Like teaching you about AI. AI is being used all over the place. There's guardrails up everywhere regarding AI. And we think that AI is important to use, as a student, as a PA, as a person going out into administration or a PA educator, but it has to be used with guardrails. Okay, so, for our program, we obviously don't want you to write a 50-page dissertation. We don't want an AI generated dissertation, right? But we have an AI policy that says, and we'll walk through those things in the program and kind of run models and things to show how AI is useful to cut down some time on certain things, certain literature reviews and things like that. You need to know how to search for articles in the old-fashioned way, not pen and paper. You can use the computer, but you search databases and things like that. But there are tools out there, outside of ChatGPT that are specific for certain things in research. Now, you're always having to check citations and things like that, but we'll give you the guardrails to be able to, what's appropriate and what's sort of not appropriate for that, because it does help. It speeds up the process. If anything, it should give you wider, sort of a wider array of things to think about, right? It maybe gives you things to think about that you weren't thinking about before, and then you can kind of dive into those areas. But to rely on it strictly for, going forward in your career is, if you haven't had formal training in navigating AI, it can be very dicey. And Dr. Weber is a former Microsoft programmer, so he is very in tune with these types of things. So we want you to be able to use the technology. We want to teach about the technology, but also kind of show you, when it's best to kind of, still do some work the old traditional way. All right, so academic standards. So for any graduate program, you need a minimum of a 3.0 GPA to kind of continue on and to graduate in the program. We want, grades of B or better, as long as you're, sort of keeping it through. We don't anticipate people in the program, should do poorly. I feel like, in this type of program, if you're doing poorly, either you're just not putting in the work or we're sort of failing you on some level. So we want to make sure that your, students are really learning what they're supposed to be learning. But they are courses, so they are going to be graded. Continuous enrollment is required. You would be able to take a leave of absence if you need to, and you would submit a, request to me for a leave of absence. And then, I would sort of talk to Dr. McEwen about it. And, but we want you to, if you say, listen, I can't do this in 12 months, like, stay in, we can kind of keep you enrolled to some extent, whether that's maybe, each semester, so not every 6 weeks, but maybe we keep you enrolled like a course every, 12 weeks or something like that. We can sort of talk about those things. Again, it's a new program, and we sort of have to figure out the policies a little bit as we go forward. Again, and just professional, research, and research misconduct and all those things. And we'll talk to you about those. Those will be embedded in some of the research coursework as well. So just admissions, I know Stephanie can chime in too. I mean, this year we were kind of like, we had some deadlines and we really wanted to just extend it to let people apply. We know people are finding out about the program a little bit later than we would like to, but so we feel like if somebody wanted to start, right, I think our start date is August 10th. So if somebody wanted to apply up until that date, and we could work to kind of get you in, as long as you meet all the requirements. You don't necessarily need an interview. But if I had questions, about something that you submitted, I would reach out, or Dr. Weber could reach out and talk to you about it, depending on what track you think you want to do. So, but we're very flexible in the dates. And like I said, going forward, as we admit, cohorts over time, we probably will have multiple start dates. So obviously these will vary. But for right now, our initial cohort is kicking off August 10th.
Yeah, I would just
Go
add
ahead.
that the
Yep.
admissions process it's pretty streamlined. We don't want to put any barriers in place for people that are interested in starting the program. So I think there is a application fee code in there for you guys if you're interested. But all of those deadlines, you would work directly with us in our office, and we would make sure that we take good care of getting you through that process. So even if it's mid-July and you think you might want to get started, we can take care of all that for you.
I mean, obviously not you all that are in PA school, but
Yeah.
come get us next year, the following year when you graduate.
We'll let you guys finish up your program.
All right. So again, this is just kind of pointing you in the direction that you might want to take your career, right? We don't want to, obviously Dr. Weber doesn't necessarily practice anymore. I practice a little bit. I don't think I want to practice full time anymore. I like seeing patients. I've done a lot in 22 years of seeing patients. I do enjoy it. But at some point you want to do other things. You want to advance your career, and PAs need to be in those positions. We are the healthcare providers that are represented the least. Okay, so you have physician lobbying is huge, nursing lobby is huge, nurse practitioners, as you probably can see, you'll see the PA students here will see on rotations when you go into health systems. Haley and Morgan probably see nurse practitioners dominate the advanced practice provider space. So we need PAs in these positions, and we're hoping that this sort of degree and knowledge that you obtain from this degree will kind of help you move in that position. So there are a lot of PAs. I mean, and if you're interested in kind of moving in that direction, connect with people on LinkedIn. There are advanced practice provider director positions that are held by PAs. There's quite a few actually in a nurse practitioner dominated health systems. And we see these people going through and getting their DMSc also because they sort of want extra knowledge and expertise in that area. So again, Dr. Weber talked about the classroom, and being a PA faculty member kind of prepares you then to maybe go on to be a program director. Maybe in the last 2 years that I was at Baldwin Wallace, I was Associate Dean of Health Sciences, so it kind of moves you into that role. Dr. Weber's done consulting roles and fractional work for programs in the past at various executive levels. So this would kind of put you towards that direction down the line in your career. All right. So there's the link to, and I think are we going to post this on our website? So that's the link to the application. You can always contact me at any time. Yeah, email, that's my cell phone. You can send me a text. Let me know who you are. Maybe if you call me, I might not answer right away, but if you send me a text and let me know you're going to call, it's fine. We can set up a time to meet. Send me an email. Maybe you're interested, but maybe not right now. You want more information, whatever the case is. We like to keep you on file, just keep you in the loop. And as we put more marketing materials out there about the program and things like that, we hope to, kind of keep you, be able to, have an outlet where you will be able to see those. So, all right, Joe, do you have anything else?
Not really. I think I was going to camp on the artificial intelligence thing. So Dr. Pennington mentioned this a little bit, but I was a computer engineer for like 20 years. And I actually wrote my first paper in graduate school on artificial intelligence in 1989. Nobody even knows that it existed then, but it was on vision systems and AI. So I actively teach my students right now in PA school and the doctorate program how to use AI. So I teach faculty how to do it, both PA faculty. I've taught college administrators, English professors. So for those of you coming into the program, we will teach you a lot about how to effectively utilize AI in so many different forms. I think it'll blow your mind. So that's an exciting piece, and I'm excited about it. And I think education is going to start to really explode with some of the embedding of AI, just like you're seeing in Epic and other systems. So that's all I had, Jared.
Great. Tammy or Stephanie, do you have anything else?
Okay, Stephanie, did you have anything else you wanted to add about admissions or any of?
Just the only other thing, and this is something that we wanted to make sure as alums of the college that you all were aware of, is that I know Dr. Pennington had shared a little bit about costs, but we are offering a kind of a friends and family discount to alumni. It's a 20%. And so whether that's now or whether that's in a couple of years when you're out in the PA world and ready to do that, that's something that we want to extend to our fellow builders. Yes. But other than that, I think, yeah, Jared, you covered all of the admission information, and like I said, it's a lot of familiar faces. So I think you all know how to get in touch with us if you need to.
And this piece on exploring to employer tuition reimbursement, definitely explore that, because if you work for a large health system, they probably have something. You know, I've been at Akron Children's for 11 years and never full time, but even as like part time and even as PRN, they offer some type of assistance for education, which I never knew about. So if you work for, you know, maybe not a small practice, but you know, who knows, if you work whatever the employer is, you know, look into that and see if they offer that, because that could be really helpful.
I would like to chime in and just say thank you all very much for joining us. I know you're busy. I know it's the end of your day, but it's probably not the end of your day. Some of you are probably going to go study for the rest of the evening or have whatever household duties that you have and everything else. But I do want to open it up to questions. If there are any comments or questions that you guys had for me or Stephanie or for Dr. Pennington or Dr. Weber, we're happy to try to field them and answer them. They were always this way.
All right, well, awesome. Haley and Morgan, we'll look for your applications tomorrow.
They always do. No, we're quiet. We're not going to ask questions yet.
But truly, feel free to email me anytime. If you even if you don't have interest in our program, you want information on doctoral degrees for PAs, you want to explore that, I'm willing. I'm excited to talk about those things. Feel free to, if you need some general advice, this is the way I want to go, I'm not sure, maybe our program is not for you. There are some programs that have a track specifically, like say for psychiatry or for some. So if you really want to dive into a specialty and a program has a track for you, I probably know about it, right? I might not be an expert in it, but I probably know we pretty much know all these DMSc programs and what they have to offer. And there's a lot of great faculty members out there teaching in these programs. So any questions at all, Dr. Weber and I, again, have a lot of experience as PA faculty members, program directors, PAs, all the other stuff that we've done. So feel free to reach out.
And you guys definitely know how to contact us and how to reach out. So if you come up with any questions or need anything, email, text, whatever it may be, phone call. And tell your friends, tell other PAs that, if you know somebody that might be interested, put a bug in their ear. But really, it means a lot that you took time out of your schedules to join us this evening. I truly appreciate it.
Good to see you all. Thank you so much.
Everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for all the
Bye-bye.
information.
Bye.
Take care of yourselves. Don't work too hard.